Hi everybody, this is Kathy. Welcome back. Now, normally, as you can see from my videos, I don't usually get involved in these distractions that are on YouTube about the Whitakers. Now, I'd like to keep my eye on the big important things, but there's been a couple things that I keep hearing over and over, and both the copper bathtub that Patrick claims is his new bathtub, and also the propane tank from Gary McGowan, right? Like I said, I'm not going to waste a lot of time, but I'm going to tell you my point of view, which is, like I said, I think is different than other people. And we'll start with this bathtub here. So this was a few days ago. Patrick says, I guess I'm going to have to put a camera in my bathroom after being remodeled. Copper is a delicacy around these parts. Now, what I see is, I think Patrick just came up with a reason to put the camera in his bathroom. You know, maybe he watched my video talking about the Airbnb and the cameras, but you know, Patrick always has been one for the spy stuff, like the hidden cameras and stuff. So I wouldn't doubt if there's already a camera in there. But yeah, he's got, in case you find a camera in Patrick's bathroom, this is the reason why. This and only this. He's just keeping an eye on that bathtub, you guys. Nothing else. Don't worry if you find a camera in Patrick's bathroom. Okay, he's just trying to keep an eye on that copper bathtub. That, by the way, this cannot be out of his house, and I'll tell you why. Number one is whoever took this picture has had this bathtub a while. Because if you notice over on the counter over here, look at the inch of dust over here. Now, they took down 3 canisters for the picture. I don't know what was there. Maybe 3 rolls of toilet paper. I don't know. Maybe some Kleenex. I don't know. But they took something out of the picture that didn't look good, you know what I mean, in the picture. Because this is a Facebook Marketplace picture. And yeah, I doubt that much dust, and then remove 3 things, you know what I mean? So right there, it shows you this bathroom is probably an unused bathroom for a while. But anyway, so there's a clue that this bathtub has not just been installed recently. But I did a reverse image on this bathtub, which is really easy to do. Google has they have a option on your Google search for a reverse image. And when I did, this is what came up. The listing comes, these Facebook Marketplace listings come from Henderson, North Carolina, and another one is labeled Boone, North Carolina. So either way, these pictures are coming out of North Carolina on Facebook Marketplace. It says the items removed, so I think it was for sale in North Carolina, and the ad's been removed. So if Patrick bought it, maybe could be still in the back of his truck. Who knows? But yeah, this is not his bathroom. But like I said, I don't know whether he bought the tub or not. But this is definitely not his bathroom. It's a bathroom in North Carolina. So, oh, I gotta show you something. Down in the comments, I don't know if this is his mom, Ginny Rourke. She says he used copper because it absorbs booty smell better than porcelain. Is that your mom, Patrick? She's trying to explain that gets rid of his, butt smell. And then somebody replied, ooh, and I'm assuming you'd somehow know, ? Weird thing to say. It kind of is a weird thing to say, especially since it's coming from one of his relatives who, knows him personally, probably. So that's all I have to say about this thing. I wouldn't really think too much about it. I think it's a distraction. It is, a red herring. So you can go spend all this time on this and not really worry about what he's really doing, or maybe you won't ask about the Whitaker's money if you think too much about this bathtub. And I've heard all kinds of people spending time on this. Forget about it, guys. It's a distraction, and it's not his bathroom. And the second thing here is probably the worst that I've seen out of people, okay? And the one that I disagree with almost everybody about. This Gary McGowan propane tank thing, okay? Where do I start? Gary McGowan comes right out of the gate, maybe, 3 weeks ago or something. I think it was at the beginning of November. I don't know. All I heard about was, this Gary McGowan guy, he came out of the woodwork, and he's a Christian, and he's going to, he gave after the Whitakers gave that vehicle back to Patrick, this Gary shows up, and he's presents the Whitakers with a van, a bunch of insurance on it, months of insurance, and a full tank of gas, and also a propane heater for their home, and a large tank of propane. Now, I don't know. I really wasn't paying attention. Like I said, I don't even like to get distracted in this nonsense. It's, to me, it's trivial. I focus on what's the injustice that's been done and the criminal things that have been done here. But this is kind of more like gossip to me. But I'm going to cover it because it's really bugging me. And I don't hear people saying things that I think are obvious, so I'm going to say them. Right out of the gate, Gary McGowan came out, like I said, announcing that he's a Christian man and he's going to do good and all this stuff. Now, what I heard is that he gave the van and the heater and all these things no strings attached, okay, because he's going to not be like Patrick, because the vehicle with Patrick, and what Patrick gave him, there's strings attached, right? But Gary comes out, what I heard is that, because I don't know where the original message or anything like that is, really wasn't paying attention, but I heard from everybody and hearing them reading or whatever, they said that this was going to be no strings attached, right? Now, I heard that he gave these things to the Whitakers. Now I'm hearing that Gary's saying that he borrowed the heater and the propane tank. I don't know about the heater, but the propane tank, he's saying that he borrowed. Now, that's different from what I've heard for 3 weeks, that he gave the propane tank or that he borrowed the propane tank. So I really don't know which one is true, but really, I know what people are saying, and I can't stand listening to people talking about this, because all I hear is, well, it just figures BJ sold that tank and she's back on drugs and she's doing, and I've heard a whole slew of different types of drugs that she might be on. Oh, she's on this kind and she's on that kind, and oh, she's out of control. Like, okay, have we learned nothing so far? We haven't heard her side of the story. We haven't heard Larry and Betty's side of the story, as usual. Per usual, because every time Eric said something about Betty and Larry, anyone in the family, he did all the talking. If you haven't noticed, and if you haven't noticed me pointing out all these things, is that Whitakers never talked. And they didn't even have an opportunity to really watch the videos, because they don't have internet and all that. So we never heard from out of their mouth any of that stuff. We didn't hear about anything, okay? You name it, we didn't hear it out of their mouth. We heard it out of Patrick's mouth. We heard it out of Eric's mouth. Heard it out of everybody's mouth but theirs, okay? So my question is to all these people who are talking about this propane tank and how BJ's out of control and stuff. My first question, because I got a few, okay? But let's start with this first. First of all, you're listening to Gary's side of the story, okay? So what was BJ's side of the story? Can you tell me that? And what was Larry and Betty's side of the story? Can you tell me that? What did you hear them say? Or are you just going by what Gary says? Just like everybody went by what Eric said and what Patrick said. I mean, to this day, you see people saying, oh, she was hitting Timmy with a shoe. Oh, she was doing this and that. Everything straight out of Eric's mouth. So if you haven't learned anything, you should learn one thing is stop taking one person's side of the story, okay? And then look at the person who's making these claims. All right, now I know he came right out of the gate saying, I'm a Christian man, and somehow we heard this. We heard he's a Christian man. His name is Gary McGowan. We know his name. He put his name out there, and he told everybody all the gifts that he gave the Whitakers, or I guess now it's Bowering, whatever. And when anybody says straight out of the gate, I'm a Christian, I'm an honest Christian man, we're a good Christian family, hair stands up on the back of my neck, to be honest. Okay, I spent 10 years in that community. All right. When somebody says that they're a Christian, what I've learned, because I've studied the Bible day and night for probably 8 years, know it inside and out now. And people who come out of the gate saying that they're Christians usually don't know their Bible at all. They want you to let your guard down and trust them and believe every damn word that comes out of their mouth. Okay, because they're a Christian. Christians don't lie. Christians don't steal. And what did Eric say? What did Eric say when he first came out of the gate? He said, my daddy's a preacher. I'm a son of a preacher. Well, who cares? That's what I said. Probably even more reason to keep an eye on that one, okay? Because when people announce their holiness, okay, that's when you got to really pay attention but he told us with the Eric and Patrick, meet Eric and Patrick, the first video, that he's the son of a preacher and grew up in a church home and all this other stuff. So what did I say in that other video? Oh, I see. So everybody let your guard down. Everybody just let your guard down, everybody. Let your guard down. Yeah, he's the son of a preacher. And what did Eric's friend keep saying to the corporal's receptionist on the phone to the police? Oh, Eric would never do nothing. He's the son of a preacher. So people use this as somehow to get a free pass. No matter what comes out of their mouth, you got to believe it. If there's anything shady, it's shame on you. It's a preacher or preacher's son or whatever. Look at the news, okay? What it is a very high rate of all kinds of bad things in churches, because church, like a teacher, like a cop, like a judge, you have authority over people. And when you're a preacher or anything like that, they get away with a lot of stuff because they are in authority. Okay, and it's no different with preachers. And so look at the horror stories. Look at the horror stories with the Christians, okay? So to come out of the gate announcing you're a Christian, red flag for me. And I always sit back and watch, because I know the first day I heard Gary McGowan, Christian man, giving all these things to the Whitakers, right there, done. Because, Gary, you should know, if you're a Christian man, you should know your Bible, right? It's your manual. Have you not read your manual, Gary? Because if you did, you would know that the Bible says, but New and Old Testament says, don't be doing your good deeds out in public. You're not even supposed to tell anybody when you do a good deed. But that's right out of the gate. Oh, look at me, I'm a Christian, I'm doing a good deed. Well, that goes directly against Jesus, out of his own mouth. Was going in Matthew, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6, chapter 6. I'll pull it up in a second. But Matthew 5 through 7 is Sermon on the Mount, very basic instructions from Jesus to the crowd. He was talking to the crowd. And he was getting those commandments out of the Old Testament. Okay, because the same rules were in the Old Testament. But as far as doing your good deeds in public, Old and New Testament say don't do that. Now, like I said, he's basically going over rules that were in the Old Testament too. So, and if you have a red letter Bible in the New Testament, Jesus' words are written in red. Okay, so if you go to Matthew chapter 6, these letters are in red, straight out of Jesus' mouth when he's preaching to the crowd. Okay, very basic instructions for people to learn. And chapter 6 starts out giving to the needy. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Now, and then right after that is the Lord's Prayer. But anyway, this is very basic. And telling everybody you're a Christian, how do you not know? This is basic 101 Christianity. You know what I mean? It's not like scholar stuff. You know what I mean? This is basic. And you're warned that if you do your righteous deeds out in public, you've just got your reward. Everybody gave you the pats on the back, the attaboy, good job, oh, aren't you something? Okay. So as soon as I heard him saying it, everybody saying that what his name is and that all these gifts that he gave to the Winnikers, I'm thinking, wait a minute, if he's a Christian, and especially bragging about being a Christian, like I said, to me, that's only one reason people do that. Okay? And it usually pans out that way. So I knew right away, good grief. How would somebody say they're a Christian and then announce all their good deeds? Obviously haven't read their manual called the Bible. All right, here's this thing. So anyway, so now 3 weeks later, I guess BJ took the propane tank to go get it filled and never came back, right? According to him. Now, I'm going to read this thing that he put out blast publicly. Just as I am a humble person that tries to help many people, there you go, blow the trumpet, and I am going to have to call this person out, since I threatened to do so with no response or remorse. All right. It's so sad what addictions will do to you. Okay, so your propane tank left and didn't come back. So right away you're going to, have everybody think that this is for drugs. Now, whether it is or not, we shouldn't even know that you gave them this stuff, okay? We shouldn't even know about this, Gary. Why are you putting this on blast? First of all, that you gave them anything, and now you're mad because, whatever. BJ, you must either be back doing your habits or have never gotten off them, as you assured me you had. I was good enough to see, blowing your horn, I was good enough to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you have sure burned a bridge that can't be built back. I know what I've done for you and your family means nothing to and someone like you. You do realize that the final outcome is going to be, don't you? The same as many that I've helped and tried helping. It's a good chance they burning in the pits of hell forever. Now, you know how many times I've seen this over the years? Right away, when the people blasting out that how holy and Christian they are, As soon as you make them angry, they're going to condemn you to the pits of hell. Okay, because you didn't bring the propane tank back. Again, not biblical at all, Gary. So the same as, so if Gary helps you and you make him mad, then like many others, you'll burn in the pits of hell for making Gary mad. Never getting a fix or satisfaction in everything, not even a sip of water to soothe the soul. And he's, this is also so, I could go on forever about biblical stuff here, okay? The sip of water, that comes from Lazarus, the poor man at the gates, and, the rich man begged for a drop of water. It has nothing to do with any of this. But he used the sip of water in the hell. Anyway, just, oh, man. If anybody knows your Bible, you know how ridiculous and how far off this is, you know what I mean? How just inappropriate this is. And not biblical. PJ, I'm going to call the police and report you stealing my personal property that I let your dad and your aunt borrow. I will also let everyone on Facebook know to never trust you at all. Okay, here's the problem here, Gary. First of all, you said you gave the propane tank to them, if I'm hearing it right. I thought these were all gifts with no strings attached, because that's what I heard from over and over and over from all these people. Okay, that these were no strings attached, but somehow all of a sudden the strings are back on. Okay, so he's going to call the police and report you for stealing my personal property that I let your dad and your aunt borrow. Okay, this is two different things, both legally and biblically. Okay, legally, you cannot report somebody for stealing something that you borrowed to them. Okay, not even a car. If you borrow someone a car and they don't bring it back, go ahead, call the police and see what they say. Oh, you handed them the keys? Yeah. I borrowed it to them. I told them to bring it right back and spend a week. They're going to say, well, that's not really stealing. So to the police, if you call and tell them that you borrowed somebody a propane tank and they didn't bring it back, you want to file a report, I really, really doubt that they're going to come rush over with their pen and paper and take on a report, because you borrowed, okay? Borrowed. Legally, that's two different things. And biblically, it is too. Because in the Bible, there's two different sets of rules for stealing and borrowing. Two completely different rules. Borrowing actually makes you a slave to the lender. And it just, the Bible frowns on trying not to borrow, be the borrower or the borrower. But when you borrow, you just pay back. That is, there's no hell involved. And when you steal something in the Bible, and especially the Old Testament has a lot of rules about that. After around the 10 Commandments, that part, there's rules laid out for everything, including stealing. And so if people get caught, so if you stole something, say you stole a propane tank from your neighbor, the rules is you're supposed to replace that propane tank. Nobody's going to burn in hell for a propane tank, okay? You're going to be more frowned upon doing your good deeds like a hypocrite out in public than you are for not returning a propane tank, you know what I mean? And stealing, it's always about retribution. It's always about that. It's always about making good. So if you, back then even, back in these days, in the biblical days, if you stole something, say I stole a propane tank, I have to replace that propane tank. And if it's like something living like an animal, it's something like you got to, it's a multitude if it's something that's living. But if it's just an item, you just have to replace it. So there's nothing about burning in hell. So anyway, and then they're going to make sure nobody trusts you. Unbelievable. You are to return the propane tank you stolen that I paid $235 for, plus taxes, saying that you were taking it to get it refilled to help you elderly daddy and your elderly aunt, which in fact is elderly abuse. You're removing it and leaving them with no heat. What a sad life you're living. Now, first of all, they've spent their whole life with wood stove when it gets cold. So I suppose what they did is just, threw some logs on the fire. And not only that, but I've heard, I don't know how many multiple accounts of different sources of firewood that come to the Whitakers. I think even the guy at the bowling alley said something about delivering firewood. Anyway, so yeah, I doubt they're without heat. I imagine they just threw some logs in the wood stove. And before all you narcissists, and when I've heard over and over, I've seen comments saying that Gary calls women narcissists, like on a very regular basis. And before all you narcissists can't wait to fire your keyboards up, not only was not, it makes no sense, not I wasn't played for a fool and that I feel for it. I knew of all the possibilities that could and possibly happen before I helped them with anything. Okay, if you knew all the possibilities that could happen, then Gary, one of the possibilities on that list would have been that, hey, maybe this stuff disappears. Maybe the stove and the van and the propane tank, maybe it'll all disappear. All right. Then you should have known that. You said you known it. Then why the big why you clutching your pearls there, Gary? Not my first rodeo, and it won't be my last. Those that do the work of the world and Satan's work will reap what they sow, same as I will for obeying what I feel the Lord dealt with me to do. Okay, well, you did not obey, because the Lord told you straight up, Matthew 6, it says, do your deeds in secret, so you did not obey the Lord. Okay, I don't know who you're hearing from there, Gary, but the Lord never told you to give all these things and then blast your name and all the deeds that you did. And then later, when you get upset, break more rules and put them on blast publicly. Lord, if I'm wrong for posting this, I want to publicly apologize to anyone I offend. In Jesus' name, it always is. Always. In Jesus' name. Right? Yeah, I wouldn't want to sign my name to this either. And then you got these people here who are still just repeating everything out of Eric's mouth. Oh, Eric already stated that after the home was built, the funds would be in a Whitaker trust. Like, oh, okay. I don't know where you've been there, lady, but as you can see, people are still. When Eric sought attorney's advice, sound advice, yeah. So everybody keeps going by what Eric said. Like, okay. You should believe him, though. He is a son of a pastor. So all this does is just allow people to trash the Whitakers some more. And all those live streams telling how horrible BJ is. And all. What's her side of the story? Oh, that's right. They were told not to speak on social media anymore, so you can say any damn thing you want now, can't you? Like Gary and everybody else. And Brian and Patrick and Eric, you can all say whatever you want from the Whitakers because they're not allowed to speak, right? So you can say whatever you want. Now these people are just parrots repeating, regurgitating everything Eric ever told them. It's just like, wow. Just like, wow. So that's about all I got to say is just be careful when people like Eric or Gary or anybody comes right out of the gate announcing their holiness, okay? Their sainthood. First off the bat, right off the bat, they probably don't even know the Bible, all right? But a lot of people will take that label of being a holy Christian man and a Christian family or son of a pastor. There's a reason they're saying that, okay? To make you, trust them and believe everything they say. And don't doubt them. Don't question them. They're Christian. They're son of a preacher. They don't lie. They don't steal people's money. Okay? Because why announce that you're a Christian man? Because it automatically makes you, they want you to form this sainthood, opinion of them. Now, if Gary McCowan would have came out and said, I am a Jehovah's Witnesses, people said, whoa, he's in a cult. Or if he said, hey, I'm Gary McCowan and I'm a Muslim, you know, whoa, you know what I mean? I'm Gary McCowan, I'm a Christian. Oh, he's a Christian. We can trust him. You see what I mean? And really, I don't know any religion that comes out announcing their religion except for Christians. All right, I got nothing against anybody, because I'm just saying, beware of people that come out right out of the gate announcing their holiness. Those are the ones you got to watch out for. So, until you've heard BJ, Larry, and Betty's side, why are you even making all these judgments off of Gary's word, or Eric's word, or Patrick's word, or Brian's word? Because remember, in every single case, even when the Whitakers were around, we never heard anything out of their mouth. 3 of them couldn't even speak, and the other 2 never got a chance to, did they? They made sure all 5 Whitakers never said a word. We didn't hear nothing out of Larry or Betty's mouth. Nothing. We didn't hear not one of them say anything about anything. All information has come out of Eric's mouth, Patrick's mouth, Gary McCowan's mouth, Brian's mouth. Okay? What have you heard on this propane tank? What have you heard about on their side? Like I said, this is why I don't get involved in this stuff. It's because it's trivial and it's one-sided. Can you imagine going to court and only the prosecutor can speak, and the defendant never even gets to show up or say anything? We only hear the prosecutor's side of the story. That's what's going on here. You're only hearing the accuser's side. We never get to hear the defendant try to defend themselves, because they're always stifled, and we don't hear from none of them. The only thing we ever hear from in the Whitakers are from the accusers. So keep that in mind. And all these people who are running with this stuff, you're wasting your time. But I'm sure they're enjoying it, watching you chase these, these trivial matters like this. Anyway, thanks for listening. This will be the one and few times I talk about something very trivial, because I think I see things different than other people, and I really had to speak up finally. But yeah, back to the important things. Thanks for listening. Peace.